Hey kids, it's Oldman shouting at clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Oldman and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders show.
Hey GT, what are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey kids, welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% unbiased, completely impartial, and on pins and needles co-host, Old Man, shouting at clouds. Joining me this week, as usual, is GT.
Hey everyone, how you doing? I've got something to talk about before I even let MJ get a word in edgewise. Not unusual, but I hinted at this on Blue Sky, and I hinted it yesterday in an email her and I had been discussing. So I know she's sitting there anticipating what was he talking about. So I thought I would just get this out of the way right off the top. So far, as you know, we did very well with the Casey Printers auction for the Casey Printers Tie-Cat jersey. So I thought, what are we going to do to top that in 2026? How are we going to change things? And as you can see, I'm wearing this lovely old style Montreal jersey. Unfortunately, it's not numbered. It's the last version, but it's very nice. It's red, white, and blue. So I thought, maybe we'll put that up next year. Maybe we'll just add that to the auction for next year's. But then I thought, I need to do this. But then I thought, oh, wait, we're the Outsiders. We need more than that. So I thought, well, if you don't like the Alouettes, maybe you'd want a Bombers jersey. And again, it's the old style Bombers jersey. Yeah. It's lovely. Unfortunately, again, it's not numbered, and it's not got Milt Stiegel's name on it or anything like that. But you could do whatever you like with it, and you could use that one if you wanted to. But wait, oh no.
Wait, there's more.
There's an Argo. How about a Kerry Joseph Argos jersey?
Oh my God.
Lovely. Number 4,
going back a bit.
Kerry Joseph Argos jersey. This is the jersey I actually wear whenever the Elks or the Riders are in town, and I become an Argo fan for the day. But this is also from that same era that I've had for a long time. As you can see, they're all around the same era. But if, so next year, maybe we'll add in the Kerry Joseph, and I will just have to be a Stampeder fan every day.
Okay, then.
Flatlanders?
Whoa. I didn't think I would ever see that.
A Michael Bishop jersey. How's that? Wow. Michael Bishop.
He's also someone I wonder what he's doing now.
Yeah, rifling parcels around an Amazon warehouse, I'm sure. Yeah. But nonetheless, a lovely Michael Bishop jersey for anybody that has fond memories of those incomplete passes thrown over the head of receivers. But lastly, because they won this week, I thought, what the heck? I would keep the best to last. And this, of course, is number 81, the best G. Roy Simon. Mm-hmm. So it's a G. Roy Simon jersey with the logo, the paw logo on the side. And so these are all going up next year. We haven't figured out how yet. I've thought of a couple of ways. We'll talk about them, but I thought I would just kind of tease everybody for next year as we end this season and go into the next season. So you have something to come back for, if not just our pleasant company.
Heck of an idea.
How I would like to start the show.
So we'll work that out, like you said, and
more jerseys under.
No, I don't have that.
Okay, you're done.
This is I just had to wear something. Otherwise, I'd be naked under here, and that's not good. But I will put my hat on because I'm not giving this up, no matter what else there is. So there you go. Welcome to the show.
Great start. And this is a good reminder for everybody. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. So next year when we start this, you'll get the automatic notification. Well, if you turn them on and get in on those. Those are great jerseys. the thing I want to know is, how did you sit there with a Rider jersey on for that long and not just be having to scratch her?
I made sure it was at least a couple of layers deep so it wasn't touching my skin.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, well, great introduction from this week, but we still have somebody else.
Oh my God.
We still have MJ here with us, perhaps with a rebuttal. Who knows?
Well, what's the new saying, kids? What's the new saying? Come on over to Montreal.
Mhm.
I am wearing this Alouettes jersey in penance for picking the Bombers by a certain member of my household. So here I am.
Might be a young member, maybe, or
Maybe.
And that's the Philpott jersey, is it?
It's the Philpott jersey. It's
Yeah.
got some signatures on it. So maybe when he outgrows it, if he'll part with it. No, just joking. I
Right.
wouldn't put up his stuff. But
there we go. What a great start to the show. You certainly got me with that, GT. I was not expecting anything
we
like
needed
that.
like montage music.
Yes, yeah, we should have. May have to see if I can add something in the edit. Anyway, and yes, as you mentioned, MJ, at this point in the playoff pick'em, GT and I are 2-0, and you're at 1-1. So need to do good this week.
We'll see.
Okay,
That's all.
sure. Well, it was, at least in my opinion, we haven't really talked about the games yet amongst ourselves, but in my opinion, it was a fantastic weekend of football. I mean, there were some disappointments and some mistakes made, but overall, it was just very entertaining games, and it certainly kept my attention, much better than the previous week of the preseason almost. So we'll talk about a couple of news things here, and then we'll talk about the games. And the first thing I wanted to mention in the news is, I'm sure you've all heard this, but in case anyone hasn't, they've narrowed down the CFL Awards to the finalists now. So we got a couple of double nominees. The MOP is Rourke and Mitchell. The most outstanding defense is Betts and Hauser. The most outstanding Canadian is Rourke again and Adiama Berglund. Most outstanding linemen were Hardrick and Revenberg. Most outstanding special team player was Vaval and Hiralahu. Most outstanding rookie was again Vaval and Verisek from Hamilton. And the coaches of the year are Mace and Moss. So that's the one. And I think that's pretty close to what you guys were saying the finalists were going to be when we talked about it a week or two ago.
Yeah, actually, I think we did all right on those picks. We were pretty close. There's a couple that we missed, but we were pretty close. Again, I'm surprised that Vavel got both rookie and special teams. I thought he would only get special teams, and Carter would get rookie out of Beast.
Carter should have had rookie. Yes. For sure.
If they voted after this weekend, he might have had rookie.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
So now it'll be interesting. To see how because he now goes up against Verisek for rookie. So I wonder how that ends up going. Do they decide that if he's the special teams player of the year, he needs to be the rookie of the year because he's already, or do they say, you can win one, but not necessarily both, which they should have they should have done in the first place. But the rest of them I think we were pretty close on.
I believe
Rourke's
so.
probably going to get 2.
Yeah, yes. Rourke will get 2.
Yeah, and the others I'm not so sure on defense, to tell you the truth. Probably to Betts, because as we talked about last time on this, he's been on fire lately, and the recency bias gets in there. But I don't know that would be the right choice. Hauser had a hell of a season.
Sure did.
He did.
I also don't know when the voting takes place, because if the voting takes place like today, that changes it versus, especially Bo versus Rourke, versus if it takes place, say, next Sunday, after those games get played, those games will heavily influence how people vote, I think. But if they haven't already, if they're voting today, they have to vote based on the season, which is what it's supposed to be on, rather than, but again, recency bias will play based on, I think, on the games this weekend and how those two guys perform.
Yeah. And I believe, don't take any bets on this, but my understanding is that the voting does take place this week. I don't think they carry it over because they don't want the playoffs to infringe more than they have to. Anyway, anything else on that? because we got to take a moment and talk about something a little bit disappointing. MJ's going to tell us about the latest suspension from the CFL.
Yes, welcome to another edition of MJ's segment called Men Behaving Badly. If any of this is going to be triggering for you, just skip ahead. Just skip ahead. The chapters are in the video and the podcast. You don't need to hear it. Sean Oakman, everyone. They announced this during Game 6 of the World Series and Halloween, that Sean Oakman has been suspended indefinitely by the CFL. And then later, the Alouettes released a statement saying that he has been released by their team. That was kind of not funny, but this is kind of interesting. The tarot cards last week said that there was when I asked for the vibe check of the Alouettes, it said letting go, transition, braving troubled waters. Mm-hmm. And it was talking about Sean Oakman, not about their play against the Bombers. So it's fun. He has violated the gender violence policy. Allegedly, I'm not going to say he did or did not, nothing. Allegedly, he threatened to send sexually explicit material of an intimate partner to the intimate partner's child. So basically revenge porn. They were fighting and he threatened to send. Anyway, what a guy. So this is the Alouettes statement. I want to read these because the Alouettes they are on things. So the Alouettes said, the Alouettes organization will never accept any type of gender-based violence or harassment, and therefore have decided to cut Mr. Oakman immediately. And then Danny Machocha went on to say, we've decided to release Sean Oakman because his actions will go against our core values. End of. No discussion, no talking about rehabilitating him, no talking about only playing. Gone. Done. Get out. So good on the Alouettes organization. For those who don't know who Sean Oakman is, this guy's got quite the little checkered past. So let me just run through quickly so you can kind of get a sense of what's happening here. So not university, he was in the States, college. In 2012, he was at Penn State and he was dismissed for violating team rules. And there was some issue with some harassment and retail theft. And then he goes to Baylor when Art Briles was there. And I think we all know what happened there. Just Google it. I don't need to rehash it. In 2013, he had a police incident on campus with a physical assault of a woman. And then he was projected to be first round in the NFL. And then in 2016, he was arrested on a sexual assault charge in Texas. And he went undrafted. And he eventually was found not guilty of that. He signed with the Argos in 2021. He played with the Elks in 2024. And then he's been playing with the Alouettes in 2025. And what a shame, because he is actually a very good player and he's just completely run amok in his personal life. And now it's affected his professional life. And there's no room for this in CFL. And if you have a person like that on your team, I'm not cheering for your team. So good for the Alouettes.
Yes. As you said, it's allegedly, but the CFL did say they did an investigation into it. I think it's a good move from the CFL and from the Alouettes. I will be curious to see what happens the next time we get a higher profile player in this situation, because to me, the league's ethics are very much driven by how much money they feel like they're making off of a player. And a interior D lineman that doesn't have a huge fan presence compared to some of the other players is an easy one to release. I hope this sets a new standard, but I don't expect it to.
Yeah, the only thing that I wanted to bring up in this whole situation, which is absolutely ridiculous and absolutely horrifying, that some people are giving the league grief about making the announcements on Friday night at 5:00 or whenever it was. There's no way the league could have done anything but that, from what I understand. And this is from the way I understand. This allegations and situation came to light on Thursday of last week. Was the first I heard about it, and that seemed to be the first anyone heard about it was last Thursday. By the end of day, Friday, the league did their investigation and made a decision to suspend this player indefinitely, which probably will mean he will be gone, period. Some people said, oh, you tried to bury it in Halloween and the 6th game of the World Series, like you're trying to hide. And no, if they had waited till Saturday or even till Monday, how much grief would they got for hiding it? They had no choice but to release that. They did the right thing. The fact that it was those two other events is coincidental. They made the right decision as soon as they could possibly make it. And then the Alouettes released him immediately thereafter as soon as they could confirm and make their own decision based on that. So I think both the league and the team made the right decisions at the right time. And there's no other way to put it. So if you're trying to hide behind, blaming the league, that's again, just people trying to tear down the league without actually putting thought into it.
No, the timing is unfortunate, but there's no way that they could let him play on Saturday.
No,
So you have to.
Absolutely
you have to. You had to. Also, I just want to. On Instagram, Sean's been on the 3 Down Nation post about this, saying he didn't do anything wrong, and I was like, "Oh, your lawyers are gonna be so mad. Don't just shut your mouth." And then. Also, just a little thing for you. If you were on the Als Central Instagram making awful, awful comments, this Instagram page, this guy is a fan of the Alouettes and he runs the Als Central Instagram account. And people wrote so many disgusting things on his post about this, and he ended up having to turn the comments off, but it was too late. His account got suspended by Meta. And it takes a lot to get your account suspended by Meta. So if you were one of those people, do better. You don't need to carry water for Sean. You don't.
Yeah. The only other point that's occurred to me as we've gone through this is I've heard a few other commentators talking about the fact that, well, the stuff that happens with the gender violence is bad enough, but they're involving a child in it. That's is so much worse and needs so much more action. And I'm sorry, no, it's not. Harassing, being violent to anyone, woman or child, is terrible and needs to be seen the same. Don't make an excuse for the other players who've done it because they weren't involving a child. In my mind, they're all down at the very bottom of what humans are capable of. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Let's go on to something a little bit, hopefully maybe more positive. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone, to bring the party down.
But I don't know what we're talking about here. Something about the Canadian Podcast Awards, GT.
Yeah, so again, if everyone's not aware, there is an organization that holds annually an award show called the Canadian Podcast Awards. We're nominated a podcast, and then they will announce the nominees, and then from there they announce the winners. This is the 8th annual, and they just finished the closing of the nominees. So I would just, on behalf of the CFL Outsiders, thank and genuinely thank all of the people that nominated us for these awards.
Oh.
That's my Jon Stewart. Not really.
Okay.
Not really. We were not nominated. We have not been nominated.
Did you nominate us?
and I just thought my next best Jon Stewart is, if you have not nominated us, what the hell's wrong with you people?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Well, we'll have to remember in about early September of next year to remind people that there's this award.
Exactly. I will. There is a specific sports category, and I will give full credit to our friends over at 2 and Out. They were actually nominated for this award in 2018, I believe, or 2019 thereabouts. So yeah, I will give them a shout out for that. But yeah. Anyways, I just thought it'd be fun to throw us into the loop and say, guys, hey, we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although I got to say, if us 3 amateurs actually got into any kind of award, it would be a sad statement about the Canadian podcasting. Okay, next one. Big news here. The Grey Cup is sold out. That's it. It's just they announced it's sold out. Unless you guys have got anything else, I'm jumping to the next one.
Oh, all those people who are like, Bomber fans aren't going to go, and no, the Grey Cup's not going to sell out now, and no one's going to buy these tickets. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Every
there
year.
may be some tickets on resale. I would say that.
Oh, well, that doesn't matter. The fact is that they're sold.
Yes. Yes, they have. All right, moving on to the next one. More about the Bombers. They announced or I don't know about announced, but 3 Down put up a list of their free agents, which is extensive. And you're going to talk a little bit about this too, GT.
Yeah, it wasn't really much. I went through the list of free agents because 3 Down does do that, but I don't pay any attention to free agent lists until free agency time because half those guys will re-sign. If not, they're somewhere else. So the list is, all you can do is look at it if you're a fan of that specific team and say, oh, I'd like that guy to come back. I don't care so much about that guy for now until mid-January. However, in the season-ending interviews that they did do post the game and as they're clearing out their lockers, season-ending interviews, they did, of course, Brady was part of that. And he was quite clear that he's not committed to the Bombers next year. He is saying that he took a hometown discount in this last contract for the last 2 years, I guess it was, this year and last year. And and he's now at 28 years old. He's not sure. He is now wants to get paid. And so he may, in fact, end up somewhere else. He's saying he'd like to be back with the Bombers, and I'm sure they would like him back, but he wants to get paid. So it's going to be interesting to see if he moves around. And I just thought it was interesting that he was as cut and dry and as clear as he was in that interview, that not at this time, most players are still hedging their bets, but he was very clear that he wants to, that he wants to get paid. So they're going to be, it throws another wrinkle into their off-season stuff. And
Yeah. It's interesting because in that game, like we'll talk about, but he had 38 yards rushing, 19 yards receiving, and that's just been the story all season long. So I'm wondering I don't want him to resign. Like, I guess here it is. If Jason Hogan is OC next year, and Brady knows that, will he resign with them? Because I know they love each other as running back coach, but not as OC. And I don't know where else he fits in though. Like,
Brady wasn't pushing the OC under the bus, but he was nudging him towards the corner, towards the curb, for sure. He said he deserved it. He works hard. He deserved the promotion. And then he didn't say, but he also didn't say he had a good year. Like he stopped at that stage. He deserved the promotion. He didn't go any further than that. He wasn't overly impressed with Hogan.
Mismanage somebody so badly. My other note here says Jarius up to OC. He's the current quarterback coach there. So maybe that might keep Brady there.
Yep.
I don't really know where else Brady would go. I swear to God, if Ottawa keeps Tommy Condell, do not sign there, Brady. It's a trap. You'll end up like stand back and never play. So I don't know. Like Rankin just signed in Edmonton. I don't think Calgary's interested in anyone but Mills. Like Riders have AJ. BC has got Butler. Maybe Hamilton. Bell's good, but he's not Brady good.
Yeah, he's not Brady, and they offered Brady $300,000 almost last time around. So that might be a landing spot. And the Argos are a definite landing spot. They're crying for a running back.
Yes.
I don't know. They keep cutting them. So I mean,
do well there.
But I mean, Montreal also doesn't need a running back. So
Montreal doesn't run. Although this weekend they did. I think the best spot or best chance of him ending up outside of Winnipeg would be in BC, because Butler's good, but as you said about others, he's not Brady good. And you've got Buck Pierce there who worked with Brady and called his offense for years.
That's true.
That's my opinion.
What's Butler's contract
I think
look
it's
like?
a move west to enjoy that left coast lifestyle.
Yeah.
He'll be able to rescue dogs all year round.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there is some other stuff in with this, though. Dembski came out and said he doesn't want to play with a quarterback other than Zach. Zach came out and said, I'm definitely going to be back next year, and I plan to be better. And interestingly enough, I didn't see so much on Blue Sky with this. I was a little busy today, but I was more active on the CFL Reddit and the Winnipeg Blue Bomber Reddit page. And I posted both those stories to that. And I would say more than half of the fans were saying, we don't really want Zach back next year. We need to do something better than that. And there were a few, not near as many, but a few questioning Dembski at the price he is in his 30s. And, do you want to pay him that much to stay or not? I can't even remember if he was on the free agent list, but they could renegotiate if they had to. So, and even O'Shea doesn't have a contract yet. So it could be huge changes.
O'Shea said that he'd be in conversation shortly. So and he's done it every year for the last how many. So I'm not surprised. But until he does sign, that's still a conversation. Yeah, I think some of that fan reaction is still the guys that are always going to fire everybody, right? They don't want any of the players back, and they fire every coach after every year that they don't have success.
Remember at the beginning of the year when Zach had that letter when he signed his extension, and he had the letter to the fans, and everyone was so heartened, and now everyone's like, "Oh, girl, why are you still here? You're so old."
And I'll tell you, there's 8 other teams that would scoop up Dembski in a minute or less if he was available on the marketplace.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's in his 30s, but he's still got life in him.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think overall, I expect that O'Shea will be back with Winnipeg, like you said. But I'm not sure about so much of the other free agents. I feel like they've held that team together for a long time just on the promise of being able to continue winning.
Yeah.
And were they 11-7, I think, or 10-8 this year? But anyway, so that's a good record, but it just felt like it wasn't the same team.
It's the 2019 Stampeders.
Yeah.
Where they're coming off a Grey Cup or a Grey Cup, run, and they had all the players, and then they just aged out and lost enough players to free agency and lost some coaches, and and they were good that year. They were in second place. Bombers came in and beat them in third, and the same thing, happened to the Bombers. They had a good record, but they just weren't as good as they have been and not good enough to continue. I agree with you. They're in the middle of that. They need to do a lot of tinkering if they're not, or a lot of cleaning, or else they're going to be in that same kind of languishing in the mode, trying to figure out what's next for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like the Stampeders did.
Yeah. Keep in mind, they had 2 games against the Alouettes this year without Alexander in there. Those games could have gone differently. They got BC early in the season when BC was still trying to get anything sorted out. So that could be 2 other games. They could end well, and they got the win where they threw, 4 passes? Yeah. So they could have been a team that was like 5-13, but they pulled out those wins as like a veteran team does, and we'll see if they can keep that mentality going next year.
Also confirmed that Strebler tore his ACL in the same knee that he tore every single ligament in last year. So they're going to have to figure that backup situation out as well.
Yeah. A non-contact injury too, which is especially concerning.
If it's on the same knee,
it is.
You're done.
Yeah. Well, whatever he goes to, I wish him luck with it. But I don't know that we'll see him back. He's been they keep saying he's a warrior and he's a tough guy, but when your body starts to let you down, you can only do so much. Anyway, anything else on the Bombers, or I'm flying along to the next one. Another quick one, just to congratulate the Argonauts coach, Ryan Dinwiddie, on being inducted in the Boise State Hall of Fame for his career there. They say he remains the program's all-time single-season passing leader. He ranks 2nd in career touchdown totals and 3rd in passing yards and passing touchdowns. So apparently he had quite a career at Boise State, and they're acknowledging that. So congratulations, Mr. Dinwiddie.
Good for him.
It's actually surprising how many of the CFL quarterbacks are in their university Hall of Fames. In fact, I think most of them probably are. For all the flack some of them get, they did all have pretty much outstanding careers in university.
Yeah. Well, it's why we see so many come up and fail, because it's hard to get to play quarterback. And if you're good enough in college to do it, then it makes sense. The other little bit of news I had going into the finals was the Riders announced today that Dante Meyers will be back for the Western final against BC. So that's good news for them. Their other 1,000-yard receiver, Keyshawn Johnson, they said is, as they put it, he's still one of the guys running around out there. We don't know if he'll be good to go or not. So I think they should still be all right there. And the last little bit of news we have is MJ's going to tell us about the Elks getting quick and signing the people they want to keep.
Yeah, Ed's been doing some work. So they re-signed Tyrell Ford. They extended him through 2027. So, well, interesting. His contract now matches Trey's. And part of me wonders if they're trying to package them up together to try and move them.
That's a
We'll
possibility.
see.
Might make
It's a
Trey more
possibility.
attractive.
Yeah, and then
That's an expensive package. They just said that he remains the highest paid DB in the league, and you've got a quarterback that's, basically considered a second string maybe, and he's making $400. So next year, it's a pretty expensive package to trade.
Winnipeg might have some money if they don't sign Brady.
Yeah.
And then just add on, Julian Grant signed a 1-year extension, so he's going to be there next year. So,
I think no linebackers.
I think no linebackers.
Yeah, no linebacker.
I think both of these are really good signings, and they do show some commitment. The opposite side of it was a lot of, there was some discussion about Tyrell and whether he would stay there after his brother was basically thrown, as we used the expression earlier, thrown under the bus by the entire management team. So, but he's, he made a decision. He's re-signed. They gave him the coin. I guess maybe they're not as tied to the hip professionally as we thought they were. Maybe it was like, we wanted to play together. We have. Now we'll take the bag and go where whoever's going to pay us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Might
the
lead to them playing against
play
each
on
other again,
teams.
which would be good.
Yeah.
There's no reason, the Herdman Reeds were our sort of a step down. They're special team players and that, but they, for the longest time, stayed on the same team, it seemed like, but now they've split up and moved apart. So, family is nice, but when it comes to making your money, getting the cash.
Yeah, business is business.
Yeah, exactly.
All righty, so that wraps up the news portion of this. And we can get to talking about the stuff that was a lot of fun, the games this last weekend. So the first one was Winnipeg going into Montreal, and the storyline that seemed to be big on this was it was the young new hot quarterback against the old gunslinger. Tell us how that all turned out, MJ.
Right. So it was so funny. Willie Jefferson was like trash talking ahead of time, as Willie does. And Alexander basically was like, call Willie, like did a little Red Rover, chanted him, and then was like, come on down to Montreal. And he said that it just fired the whole team up. So thanks, Willie Jefferson. To all you air horn haters, did you enjoy the voulez-vous more? Because the voulez-vous make me want to die. I hate the voulez-vous. Give me air horns any day. Oh, voulez-vous. I hope you're all happy. Anyway, that aside, getting to the game. Montreal came out just guns a-blazing, right? Like they were just... And Winnipeg looks like they didn't even know what hit them. And wow, first half domination. They were up 25-6 at the half. And I was like, that's it, stupid Bombers. Why did I even think you would play well? What a waste of everyone's time. This game's going to be so awful. Why couldn't this game be like the one that starts like when the World Series starts? Like, just like, like why? Like I could just... Anyway, Mike O'Shea and his halftime adjustments. I made a little joke. There's that wrestler who pretends he's like in a wheelchair with his broken leg and he rips the blanket off and stands up and he's like just joking. Bombers in under 6 minutes erased that deficit and actually went ahead. Not dead. So there's a few things that I just kind of want to touch on, but like then they just kind of went along and then it started going back and forth. It was close. Winnipeg kind of just stumbled there. Montreal just kind of took it over. I think Davis kind of did a pull to Rourke where he's like, okay, that's enough, guys. Time to be serious and like, let's just get this done. But yeah, you're kind of right. It's kind of like a changing of the guard of the QB position in the CFL, right? I think that really showcased well. Look at, we'll have another one between Rourke and Harris. That's another changing of the guard showcase. And Bo and Alexander as well, right? So these are kind of interesting. They're quite different kind of QBs, and we'll see how they all stack up. But let's see. As much as Brady wants to talk about how much he wants to get paid, he had a terrible fumble. Willie Jefferson had a really nice sack, and then he grabbed the face mask, and it completely negated it. And that was Willie Jefferson. There was a tush push, guys. It was in play, and I thought it was tandem
I didn't
blocking.
see that. That's supposed to be illegal, but
Okay, so it was in the third or fourth quarter, and Scott was running the ball. Like, you're already shaking your head. Scott was running the ball.
No,
and
okay,
he
yes.
had linebackers come up behind him and just shove him over the goal line. And there's a lot of chitter chatter about whether that was tandem blocking or not. And I mean, it looked fun and we're having fun, but I don't quite understand the rules of tandem blocking. And it clearly was a scoring play, so it was clearly reviewed, and nobody said anything. So I guess we're tush pushing people into the end zone now. And yeah, like, if only Winnipeg had played 2 quarters instead of 4. But I mean, what else do I have? Like, Philpott. Oh, the Philpotts are built for playoffs. These 2 guys, but Philpott, he's running back and a receiver, can do it all, was just all over the field. So the sun sets on Winnipeg for another year, and Davis is 12-0. And I don't even know what to say anymore because I don't understand how it's happening, but it is. CFL magic.
The Bombers had everything go their way at the start of the third there, with a couple of turnovers, an interception, and a fumble, and they did storm back. They held that lead for 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yeah.
That's when Davis brought the Owls back, and then it just went back to normal.
Yeah, he didn't get flustered. I thought he was going to get flustered when they scored 3 touchdowns in a row on them, and I thought, he has the interceptions. I thought, oh no, is he going to get rattled? And absolutely not. And quickly, my last note about Alexander is the first thing he did for all the trash talking he does before the game, and he was chirping at the Bombers bench during the game. As soon as that game was over, he ran over and shook Mike O'Shea's hand. It's the first thing he did. So what a cocky SOB, but he's also polite, so maybe he's becoming a little Canadian.
Yeah, and he can back up his stuff.
First of all, I wanted to talk about the Mobile is conference semifinal sponsored by Mobile. Did you guys notice on the back of the jerseys?
I did.
This is the Mobile gasoline deal that they signed earlier in the year. One of the sponsorships was the official gasoline of the CFL is Mobile. And we heard nothing about it all year. They never said anything about it on the broadcast, never mentioned it once, never had it in any of the titling on the games. Never showed it anywhere, but there was the Mobile logo on the back of all 4 teams at the bottom of the back of the jerseys. I thought that's kind of interesting. Another one of the deals that did it. I guess that's what they paid for, was their logos on the jerseys. The first half, I, like you and most other people, figured this game was over. I think I blue skied that this game is over. I'm only watching it as a car wreck to see how bad it was and who's going to get squished. And it was obvious it was going to be Winnipeg. And then all of a sudden, it was like they just came out of the blue and had a huge 8-minute spurt. And then it was like, oh, maybe Winnipeg is in this. And Montreal just answered on a really pretty drive with a really pretty pass on a long bomb, and it was over again. And that's when you knew, no, this is over. And then it was just a matter of them playing out the string back and forth, but Winnipeg never got close to that. And I stopped taking notes. At that point, I just went, at the first half, I was writing down stuff and getting all my notes. And I was like, I'm not even taking notes anymore. And just vibe it, as MJ would say. And it was not a good vibe on behalf of Winnipeg.
Did you enjoy the tush push of Scott into the end zone?
That's a legal play, because if you watch that, his feet never stop moving. And that's the trick. You cannot carry somebody in. As far as I know the rule, you can't carry somebody into the end zone. But his feet were constantly moving and constantly in contact with the ground. So you're helping him, but you're not carrying him. And that's the difference.
Okay.
So that's
the distinction I was missing, because I was looking up the tandem. I was looking up the tandem blocking rule on the on the CFL rules, but it didn't really say what the difference was. So that makes sense.
I believe that's the difference, because they showed it from going into the end zone. And if you watch, his feet were constant contact. So he's still attempting to move forward himself, and you're helping him along. You're not carrying him into the end zone. So I think that's the difference. that was a fun play on top of that.
It was.
Yes. And they've let that go all season, so it's obviously legal, just never at the goal line before this.
Right.
But it's not been unusual for the line to get behind and give a running back another 5, 8 yards, 10 yards, whatever.
Yeah, and that's been a long-term thing, too. That's not like this is new. That's been going on for years and years.
Yeah, that's illegal in amateur. You can't do that in amateur, but apparently in CFL you can, or at least in the amateur that I've been involved in the past.
Right.
Safety stuff.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Anything
Very
else?
much
Or
safety.
Zach made a couple of nice passes in those drives, and he looked like he was Zach again, and then it just and then he just couldn't sustain it like Winnipeg has been all year, up and down, and then they weren't in the end able to keep up. And I sent out a note saying it's going to be a great Grey Cup with Davis versus Rourke, because it's those two guys are the face. They can really market the hell out of the new face of the league and everything else. And it's going to be could be a really great Grey Cup if that's the matchup. And I think it's a strong possibility that can be the matchup still.
I had spotted a few just little things. People know the quirky stuff catches my attention. So things like, I don't know why, but I didn't think it was a very good look that TSN cut off the national anthem halfway through to go to an ad. I didn't feel that was terribly respectful at the start of the game. I thought it was very amazing that the Owls had a better run game than the Bombers did. Scott at least got more chances and performed better than Brady did. I noticed, I've never noticed this before, but I noticed that Montreal's fans know their stuff and they're really good in that, but they were loud as hell while the Montreal offense was on the field. There were times where Davis Alexander was cupping his ears.
Just bully-boos nonstop.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just the view that they showed, or whether it was people milling around down in the concourse or whatever. But in my eye, it looked like a lot of empty seats there. It looked like whole swaths of empty seats, not just the occasional pocket.
I know the reason. There is a public transit strike in Montreal.
Oh, okay,
so
maybe.
People couldn't, no, there is. So there was people posting about they couldn't get to the game because there's a public transit strike. So unless you drove or took an Uber, you were not getting to that game.
Yeah. That's unfortunate then, because
too bad for the Alouettes.
Yeah. They deserved a full house for sure.
They certainly did, yeah.
Just think of all the vuvulas that they missed.
Oh, it would have been like, can you imagine if everyone had been there with
their
air
horns?
I know, please bring back air horns. Can we believe you're saying that?
I've never hated the air horns. I'm not one of those people.
Oh, I love the air horns. I hate the bully-boos.
To me, it's a noisemaker. The more noise you can make, the better. If you're sitting beside a guy with a cowbell, it's equally obnoxious and loud and hurtful and everything on your ears as any of those other devices. But they seem to be okay. Everyone seems to be okay with that.
I'm the person with the cowbells.
Yeah,
it's me.
I kind of thought so somehow.
I am the problem.
Okay. Well, if we ever go to the Grey Cup together, we may have to set some ground rules.
Maybe I'll bring my bully-boos instead.
I have no problem with it. I just say, like, people that get upset with noisemakers, get over yourself. That's what the game's about.
Yeah. I also thought, Zach, you were mentioning that Alexander didn't look flustered. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying, if you don't like noise, you should go to golf events or tennis.
Yeah. Or curling. I like curling, and it's quiet.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was saying that I thought...
Not when I curl.
Okay, yes. I'm not even going to... there's a tangent we could go down here, but I'm not going to. So. I'll try starting this a third time here. I thought that Zach looked a lot more rattled than Alexander did, to tell you the truth. Yeah. He made some nice passes, but he did not look great, including a pass to an O-lineman, which got them a penalty when they were down in scoring range.
But that was a hell of a catch.
Oh, that guy's to have it on tape for forever.
Why?
Wallace has always filmed of him catching that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But so silly.
Yeah, maybe. But when you're a quarterback and there's a player the size of an old lineman 5 yards away from you should be able to tell he's not a receiver.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then just the last two, I thought the play of the game, I thought just as pure nice athleticism was Alexander right down when they were coming down to score again just before the 3-minute warning at the end of the game. And there was a play where he kind of rolled left and then turned around and came back. I said he was doing his best Doug Flutie impersonation. He made 2 or 3 people miss, rolled, came back to the other side of the field and completed a pass to Scott that I can't remember if that got in the end zone or the first down, but it literally looked kind of like watching Flutie, one of the plays Flutie used to make. So I thought that was very good. And I thought that given the way Winnipeg's season has gone, it was kind of appropriate that the game ended on an interception because their turnover ratio has been terrible.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I'd left to God for pizza at that point. So.
Okay.
I had a half-hour window to get out and back.
Right?
With the pizza.
I am just really happy the Bombers made it a closer game than it was going to be, because that first half, I was like, oh no, this is so long. And then it was actually a really entertaining game. So
yes, that little comeback that they mounted there certainly changed the flavor and kept me interested for the rest of the game. But I guess maybe we should move on now to the other game that was played, because that was out west here. And this one, the big storyline everybody was talking about was the fact that both quarterbacks were on the same team last year, and VA was coming back to BC to prove himself. So, I don't think we ever gave the score in the first game. It was Montreal 42, Winnipeg 33. So about a 9-point game.
Go Lions!
Yeah.
yay!
There's our household. That would be the goddess there. Yes. And speaking of this game, she actually made a comment that I thought was quite appropriate partway through the Calgary game here. She said, "It's a real shame that Matty Dunnigan's not on the panel, because this is a weekend of sling nasty football."
Yeah.
And it certainly was. Anyway, GT, tell us about what happened here.
Well, I won't go into every play because I think we'll do that between the three of us. I'll give my quick overview of the game. I thought it was an excellent played football game by both teams. I thought both teams had really good moments. I thought both teams made some critical mistakes that allowed the other team to score and continue drives. But I don't think that any of those in the end of it, the plays that everybody wants to talk about and we'll discuss mattered. I think it came down to 2 plays at the end in the last minute of the game, and that's the best thing that this league can offer. 2 plays in the last minute of the game, and I thought that last drive by BC was unbelievable, strategy-wise as well as completion and just putting it all together to go down and get that winning field goal. I thought Calgary's defense was lights out. I thought they just played unbelievably well. They held BC in check. Some of the stats that I just thought people may not have noticed or talked about, but with a minute left or something like that, what did I write it down? At one point they said first downs in Calgary at the end of the third quarter, 26-12 for Calgary versus BC. BC had 12 first downs in the first 3 quarters. Rourke had like 170 yards going into the last 5 minutes of the game passing. Calgary had 4 sacks. That defense was as good as it's been all year, even though they talked about it on the broadcast. I don't think necessarily by looking at the score or just glancing at the game, you would have saw how well that defense played. And Vernon, I thought, played very, very well. They also thought the team showed a lot of resilience to come back when they were down, and they did fight some adversity. And then BC just, did what they do. They, again, with only 12 first downs and 10 minutes less in possession, they showed that they're the big play offense when they need to be, and Rourke had that huge run that he needed to keep ahead. So it was just a well-played, exciting football game. I really thought it was a great game and showcased, what we like about CFL football. And then specific plays, I'll let you guys talk about them, and then I'll review anything.
Well, I'll say the first one that I thought was exceptional and very interesting was the Robert Carter Jr. kick return. He's the off returner for BC, and they needed that. Without that, a kick return touchdown, they wouldn't have won.
What can't he do?
I was only going to say, I talked about the defense, I talked about the offense, but it's a three-legged stool in the CFL, and you need your special teams as well. And I thought the special teams on Calgary were disappointing. They allowed that touchdown. They did not get any major run, kickoff, or punt returns. They got decent, but nothing that's flipped the field by any means. And then they had a fumble on a punt return. And they missed a field goal, and they missed an upright on a point after. So all in all, I thought the special teams, if anything, were the downfall of the game for the Stampeders.
Mark is like a running back. He had a 44-yard run, and somebody pointed out to me that he has more rushing yards than Montreal or Toronto did this year. And that's, oh boy. So he's just going to do everything. And then at some point, I think this is kind of like Bill Alexander, like Rourke, he's done this over a few games now where he's just like decided he's had enough. And it's time to be serious and just turn on the jets. And okay, guys, like time to be serious. Let's buckle up and go. So we'll see if that, I don't know if you can keep playing games like that, but we'll see. My favorite play of the game was Rourke threw the ball away to the sidelines and VA caught it. And he looked so mad that he had to catch that ball. It was great. I loved it. And then VA was on the sideline, like near the end of the game, telling his like players, like, I got you. And VA's like greatest strength and his greatest weakness is that he puts the entire team on his back. And after the game, he was just completely distraught. And he just is just holding that whole team together. And I think next year he's going to have to like put some trust in some other people. And I hope maybe his second year in that will kind of go, because he can't keep doing this on his own. It's just never going to work. And you missed, GT, the most important play of the game. I can't believe you didn't mention this. Mazzoli got a touchdown. He tried from 3 yards out.
Yes, he did.
He got a touchdown because the Stampeders went offside.
Yeah.
That's why he got a touchdown.
Why would you start
They gave
him
it first
out?
and goal on the 1 when they had already stopped him on the 2. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got a touchdown.
I know. But
yes. And I had that marked down as...
Sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say, I had that marked down as a coaching error when Pierce tried to do a quarterback sneak from the 2 on second down.
Yeah.
And he got saved by that offside, like you said.
Anyway, yeah.
And it was also there were errors on both sides, because Calgary, that clock management at the end of the first half and not getting the field goal in.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Okay, so can we talk about that? Because that's everybody wants to talk about that. So, first of all, it wasn't that pass that VA threw, the one that everybody's talking about that he shouldn't have done. It wasn't that one that was the mistake. It was the one before that will cause that mistake, where he ran around and then didn't get the ball completed and only took it from 17 to 9 seconds. So that was, in my mind, the mistake. Then the last play, it was interesting in the post-game interviews they had with VA. They asked him about that, and he said that play, we had a play called, we had a play open, then it failed, so I threw the ball away, and it was caught. I was trying to throw it away, and if you go back and look at it on the time, when it left his hand, there was still 1 second left. He knew how much time it was. He knew he still had time, but the problem was Tevin Jones caught the ball. It wasn't that he threw the ball. It was that Tevin Jones caught the ball. If he had missed him by a foot, or if he had just dropped it, like not made it, it had been an incomplete pass, there still would have been 1 second left on the clock, and they could have caught that field goal. So the heat that Vernon Adams is taking, I think, is not valid. The play call was there. Did it not work? Yes, it didn't work. Okay. Secondly, as I said also, that's revisionist history when you say, if they had to score those points, they might have won the game. No, because we don't know what other points they might not have scored, right? I will say that the turning point was not then. There was no turning point in this game until the last play of the game when the ball was kicked through for the winning field goal. That was the turning point, because until then it was tied. Was it the smartest call? No, I agree with you. It wasn't the smartest call, but it wasn't the end of the world either. It was, they had an opportunity they thought they could take. It didn't work. It's as simple as that. I wasn't upset by that call particularly, because at that point in time, I thought either they're going to be in this game or they're not, because they were still playing well enough. They'd made some really good plays later on. The two at the end, again, VA said that, the first play into the end zone, they had it, but I didn't think those were well executed. I just thought those two at the end where they left 33 seconds on the clock, I thought that was bad management more than at the half. They could have, at that point in time, run the clock down a bit more and and got a field goal. But I will say, I did think that last drive, as I talked about, that was executed perfectly by BC. They came out, they set a Calgary up with a run, so it looked like they were going to play for the tie, and then they launched two butt passes down the field. And Dave Dickinson in his postgame said they were ready for that play, and they had Markel Lee covering McInnes, because Markel Lee is 6'3" as well, and he got his hands up. The ball was just over top, and McInnes, as he said, is 6'5", and it was enough that the ball was over top. So it wasn't, like they were caught off guard. I just think BC really executed really well on that particular drive. And then the turning point, it wasn't anywhere else because it was a tie game, until the last field goal with no time left. And there were mistakes. There were penalties that kept drives alive on both teams, that led to a touchdown each on both teams. All this stuff about that VA thing at the halftime making or breaking the game, it didn't. It wasn't one play in the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not one to say, with that 3 points, they would have won the game. Because like you said, with that 3 points, the whole game goes different, or without it. But I do think that it did have an impact on the game and how the plays were called later in the game. And I don't put it on VA. I put it solely on Pierce. 9 seconds left like that, unless you're going to go to the end zone and do it extremely quick, and you say to VA, it's either in the end zone or it's thrown away, that is taking the chances there. And you said there was a second on the clock when it left his hand, but the thing is, that's not when the play ends. The play ends when the ball is either caught or touches the ground. So even if Jones hadn't caught it, he would have they ran out of time. And and I think that was a huge error on Pierce's part. My opinion.
Dickinson's?
You mean
we've been dominating, MJ. Jump in.
Oh, no, did you mean Dickinson? Yeah, right?
No, I meant, Dickinson, yes, because sorry, I was...
Yeah.
Okay, I was like...
Thank you, yes.
Did the
we won't have to do a mea culpa because
I don't know
MJ taught it for me. Yes.
No, I'm just,
no, I didn't.
I'm just really happy VA played well, and we were worried he was going to get rattled, and he really didn't get as rattled that I thought he would, and I think I think he's going to do really great next year, and I'm really happy for him. Just sucks to lose today, yes, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, he did not lose that game for them. He played extremely well. Yeah. And it was just, I think that the winner of that game was more about just the timing of how it happened, because they did both play really well. You mentioned that pass to McInnes that set up BC in range, but on the last Calgary drive, VA hit Philpott in triple coverage on that long pass.
4 guys around him.
I
that
had
was insane.
Once I saw the replays, I kind of got it, but in live, I thought, there's no way that happens.
Yeah, and he got crushed too. Not only did there was 4 guys around him, he got crushed, and he still hung on to the ball. Philpott had an amazing game. Brooks had an amazing game. Barnes had an amazing game. Again, VA, and they just kept coming back. Like, there was no quit in them. They had lots of opportunity to back it up and go home, but they just kept, no, you're going to, okay, yeah, BC's going ahead, but we're not giving up. We're going to keep going. So it looked like they, I thought they were very resilient.
Yes. And I did I criticized Pierce mistakenly, but then I got corrected to be criticizing Dickinson, and I do stand by that. But I also give him full credit for the fact there was a point in the game where it was 3rd and goal on the 2-yard line, and conventional wisdom might have said at that point you kicked the field goal, but he made the gamble and it paid off with the touchdown. So both teams were there doing everything they could to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought there was, there was some great passes. There was a couple of really nice runs. Mills had that huge run to offset Rourke's huge run. Like Kevin Hatcher was kind of quiet. He had a couple of catches, but he was kind of quiet. I think it was mostly McGinnis that I saw as their number one guy. There was a hurdle from Eberhardt that was nice to stay in the hurdle race. There was a few other things, but overall, again, it was just a really well-played game. Calgary sacked Rourke 4 times. I don't know how, if that's happened in the last little while. And I thought Calgary's rookie tackle played really, really well, considering it was his very first game, not even like a rookie that's been playing all year. First game of the year. I thought he played well. His name didn't get mentioned a lot. And as I said on the broadcast, that's a good thing for an offensive lineman. Yeah, I thought, and he was up against Betts most of the game, so I thought he had quite a good game, and he's a guy I want to keep my eye on going forward.
Yeah, I expected more production out of Betts given that matchup, but as a third stringer going in there, he did extremely well.
Yeah, this game is so exciting that the World Series Game 7 had started, and I stayed and finished and watched this game because I was like, I cannot leave. It's so close. I'll just miss the first inning.
Wow.
It's fine. I know.
By the way, my condolences on the World Series for him.
Yeah, that's sports, huh?
Don't get started on teams making mistakes like that.
I don't.
No, we're not going there. It's a rabbit hole we're avoiding.
It's an entire hour-long podcast on its own, featuring me. We don't need to do it.
Yes. Yeah, we could do that. I know I caught Rouge Radio this week, and they spent the first 15 minutes of the show talking baseball. Anyway, for us, that's what happened.
You just so you know, because we're talking about it for a second or two, the participation awards are out in full force in the city of Toronto. There's people here that want to hold a parade just because they were so close. What a
Yeah. It seems like, I don't know, people are in a forgiving mood these days. I saw some of that. I've seen fans putting up posts for the Bombers and the Calgary saying thank you for a great season. And I don't remember that happening so much in the past. But anyway, that's all done. We got to move on now to the next one here, which would be next week. And it starts out in the East. Montreal going into Hamilton. What do we think's going to happen? Your team involved, MJ. You get to pick first.
Tarot card time. So I just want to say that 3 of the 4 teams this week had wands as their theme, and this is passion, creativity, action, willpower, inspiration. So great theme for this weekend. Just to let everyone know, this is just vibe check for the teams. Please do not use betting based on my tarot card reading. Anyway, okay. Montreal has the 3 of wands, which is persistence, anticipation, and progression. So this is luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. As a result of your persistence, you have made steady progress and you're on your way to your grand vision. Anticipate every possible opportunity available. This will prepare you for both good and bad news so you're readily able to handle challenges. All right. Hamilton got the 9 of swords, which is anxiety, worry, distress, nightmares, and mental torment. A living nightmare. You are constantly...
Oh, dear.
I know. So, a living nightmare. You are constantly thinking of worst-case scenarios, creating anxiety and stress. What-if scenarios. So, become your own cheerleader and acknowledge yourself for all the good you've been doing. So the Alouettes already are in their heads before this game's even started, I think. This is, do I want to go double or nothing against Montreal? or do I take the safe? I'm going to go with the young guns, and I think...
Are the tarot cards saying Montreal then?
They are saying Montreal. They're saying basically Hamilton's they're in a living nightmare. And creating what-if scenarios. You're constantly thinking of worst-case scenarios, creating anxiety and then stress. And Montreal's as a result of your progress, you're on your way to your grand vision. So I honestly, I'm going to take Montreal.
Okay, so I'll talk to GT here while MJ tries to fix her setup there that's given her a bit of trouble. So it sounds like she's going with Montreal over Hamilton, even though Hamilton's her team. How about you, GT? What do you see this one going for?
I think at this point, Montreal's unstoppable. I think Montreal's unstoppable at this point. I really do. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we picked them back at the beginning of the season. I said they were the best team in the league then. I think they're still the best team in the league. I think they just had a period where they didn't have their best player. And as long as they have their best player, they're the best team in the league. Absolutely, Montreal.
And I have to make that a unanimous pick here. I do believe the old saying that defense wins championships. And we've got in both these games this weekend teams that have very good offenses and middle of the road defenses against teams that have exceptional defenses and still fairly good offenses. So I think it's going to be Montreal. And while we're still waiting for MJ here, I'll go to the next one, which is BC coming into Saskatchewan. And for me, that's my team, so I'll pick first there. And I am going with the Riders for exactly the reason I said. Defense wins championships. And I think as good as BC's offense is, I don't see them getting past the Riders. So I'm predicting Montreal and Saskatchewan in the Cup. How about you on the second game?
Yeah, as much as I'd like to pick BC, I can't see it either. I think it's going to be the Riders. I just think they have too much. They're just too good at like, not too good, but they're too deep at all the positions. That's what they have more than anything. They have depth at every position. If Trevor Harris happens to get injured or has one of those weird off games that he can have, then BC has a shot. But if he's on and he's like getting rid of the ball quickly, like he's been most of the year, you can't get to him fast enough. And I don't see BC winning that in that kind of a game. I just don't.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would point out that I think with the possible exception of Hamilton, all the teams are in that boat. If they lose their starter, they're not winning this
absolutely.
weekend.
Even Hamilton is going to be a huge drop down if they lose Bo. That's still, you're going to a guy that hasn't played all year. So
in almost 2 years, basically. Yeah, but we haven't seen Powell, so we don't know. Whereas with the others, we've seen the backups, and we know that they're not capable.
Yeah.
Welcome back, MJ. So that I know what I'm talking about. If you pick Saskatchewan, hold up one finger. If you pick BC, hold up two fingers. Two, okay. BC it is, and then we'll continue to play here. So I don't know how much of this will get through the edit, but you folks might find out that
could have been worse. You could have used two different fingers.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Like I said, I don't know how much of this will get through the edit, but you folks can tell maybe that MJ's having some audio troubles, and luckily we're right at the end of the show here. So not much more to do other than enjoy the weekend. We're all on Montreal. GT and I are on Saskatchewan. MJ's on BC. She'll either tie us or we'll open a big lead that then the Grey Cup will be the question of it all. I will, since we're not sure how if MJ's voice is going through, I will sign off for her and mention that you can get her at Sports and Plants on Blue Sky. And I'm sure she'll be waiting with bated breath to see how Hamilton does this weekend. You got me flustered now, too. Okay, GT, how about you? Where can people find you? Any last thoughts?
As always, at GT Barnum on Blue Sky, and that's if you're watching somehow on our Instagram, you'll find me there occasionally, apparently. And thank you for that as well. And we'll talk again next week.
Okay, sounds good. Hopefully next week all of us will have our voices back, or the technology will allow us to. We're getting down to the end here. So, like I said at the start, when GT mentioned the auctions, if you haven't subscribed yet, do so and turn on your notifications. That way, we're going to drop a couple of shows in the off season when it's appropriate, around free agency and draft, and we'll see. We'll be out there a bit, and then next year when we start up, you'll get notified that we're here. So good time to subscribe, and while you're doing that, please also drop a like and a comment and help us out. And I'm available on Blue Sky as Oldman-SAC. The show is on X and Instagram and on Blue Sky as well as the CFL Outsiders. I knew there was a third one I was missing. So you can get us there with any of that. Let's hope we get another great weekend of football. If it's matches this last weekend, I'm going to be a happy man. So, until next week, for MJ and GT, this is Oldman saying, get the hell off my lawn.